Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of the OpsCast. Today with me here I have Creeping Death, one of our squad leaders. We have Hammering Hutch, who leads the mission design of Squad Ops. And we have Two Ton Tootin, who is another commander slash squad leader for Squad Ops. Today we're going to be talking about, generally what each one of us does in Squad Ops and stuff of that nature, as well as generally as command and as leaders in Squad Ops, how we see the difference in vanilla play and our event play. And then we'll go on to talk about suppression, gun mechanics, and then we'll finish up with our usual tips and questions. All right, so beginning right now, I guess we'll start off with Creeping. Creeping, do a small introduction.
Yeah, so I'm Creeping Death. I've been playing Squad since the pre-alpha, so a little over a year now. I got in with the founders and stuff. Found Squad Ops a few months ago. I loved it, gotten involved, and I've been squad leading events for a couple months now.
All right, and Hutch, a little introduction if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. My name's Hammering Hutch, just usually go by Hutch. And I've been with the Squad Ops community since June, and I'm the lead. I've been playing Squad for since February of this year, and really enjoying myself here. And within the Squad Ops community, I work on mission design, so a lot of mission development and stuff like that, as well as working out some courses for SOTT as well.
Brilliant. And then Two Ton.
Yeah, I'm a two-ton. What am I? I'm former Navy, which qualifies me to be a saw instructor somehow. Frequent commander, frequent stomper of Karmakut. Or at least I try to be. Sometimes.
Awesome. But yeah, so Two Ton and I are basically the main commanders. We pretty much have 2 or 3 commanders that swap in and out every now and then for commanding Squad Ops events. And basically what that means is within Squad Ops, you have your usual squad leaders just like Vanilla Squad, but we also add a commander role. Now the commander role is coming to Vanilla Squad, I believe. It's something that OWI is working on, but we decided to implement it earlier into our One Life events simply to just give it a little more structure and a little more strategy to our games. So we have leaders of all levels here. So we also introduced Fireteam leads, which is something that OWI also is planning on working on. But Fireteam leads are essentially leaders of these 2 smaller groups within the squad, and they handle a lot of the tactics and all the micromanaging so that the squad leader can focus on the overall strategy. So I guess our first topic for commanding is going to be Fireteam leading. Creeping, what do you have to say about Fireteam leads and Squad Ops and how you see it might transition into vanilla?
I absolutely love fire team leads. I rely on them so much during an op. Generally, what I like to do is I'll split a full squad into 4-man fire teams, and basically give the fire team leaders most of the power to command their fire teams how they like. I'll be setting general objectives, usually with the input of command, and I definitely rely on them for a lot of input and make sure that
they're doing what they're doing, keeping control of the squad and stuff like that.
Absolutely, it's a huge help to keep control of the squad.
Yeah,
I can kind of go off and definitely do some recon while those guys are holding the fort down.
Mm-hmm. It was a little awkward implementing them, right? It was difficult to kind of get that structure down because it wasn't really in squad. But once we finally got that fire team structure down within squad, it really showed how useful it was having 2 teams within a squad being able to individually and independently operate. You could do a lot of unique things really fast once you had teams that understood the fire team role. Hutch.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Hutch, as a squad leader, what are some things that you notice in Squad Ops that are different from vanilla?
I would say one, just unit cohesion in general is a lot better in Squad Ops. I think there's Squad Ops in general attracts a different type of player, I guess, than the general people in your standard public servers. And I like that aspect. I think a lot of the other members in Squad Ops feel the same way. And so because of that, people are really interested in working together as a team and communicating to accomplish an objective. And I really like that. And as a squad leader, which is the majority of my time now, I'm pretty much a all-time squad leader. I really like to see that unit cohesion happening within Squad Ops. And just as Creeping was talking about, exercising and really leaning on your team leaders. I mean, your squad's only going to be as successful as your team leaders, really. If your team leaders aren't able to or aren't competent to do their job, then essentially the leadership just kind of erode.
Right.
So, I mean, really a key element. I honestly, some of my most enjoyable times is just being a fire team leader, because you got you and your 3 other guys, and you're working on objective. You're getting your orders from the squad leader and understanding his intent on what needs to get done, and then accomplishing that mission at that real kind of micro technical level. And I totally dig it, and it's cool to have competent team leaders out there that I can lean on to focus on my job as a squad leader, managing multiple teams and all the orders from higher,
Exactly. I have a question for you, because you are, involved in SOTT as well as mission design. What are some things that you think you could take from leadership either in vanilla or in squad ops and translate to the other? For example, if you could take something in squad ops leadership-wise or commanding-wise and translate that into vanilla, what would be that one thing that you wish would happen in vanilla?
I would just say the unique thing that we have in squad ops is we have the ability to know each other, or like we get to know more and more of each other, versus a vanilla op, you're literally thrown in there with a bunch of strangers and you just kind of go with it. I would love to see a little bit more communication in public matches. Oftentimes it's a crapshoot if you're going to get a team that even wants to work together versus just grab an optic and run to the top of some hill and try to get some kills,
Right.
So I like that. I like the more unit cohesion in public matches, and honestly, it's just kind of knowing your players. And if you see that someone is, say, trailing off a lot and lone wolfing, then maybe that guy wants to be a really aggressive player, and work with that instead of against it, and formulate attacks and maybe work and become a little bit more aggressive when you need to,
Exactly. And Two-Ton, I know that you've recently taken on that commander role within these past few months here. What about commanding at the macro level of the game do you enjoy, and do you think could be improved on and maybe even implemented into vanilla?
I mean, the nice things about the macro level is that you can basically take a hands-off approach. You really don't need to tell your independent squads, like, hey, clear this building. You can point them at a village or a hill and just let them work it out. If they eventually put a commander role into squad, it would be nice to just have them, give them the ability to have them target an area and just have the squads push through it.
Right.
And have an actual way to keep track of it instead of just icons on the map.
Do you think that commanding is something that will be easily translated into vanilla? Or you think there's definitely going to be some chaos and some havoc when that happens?
Oh, I mean, there's always chaos. It's
Yeah.
But the problem with vanilla play is just the sheer level of salt you get from the 2% of people in there, who just take such a great offense to people who are even not even telling them what to do, just suggesting, and they'll just fly off the handle and scream at them. But I don't know. We'll figure out a way to deal with them.
Yeah, I definitely think that squad vanilla could use a commander role. I mean, it's going to be a little difficult, but I think right now you have all the squad leaders are technically at the same level of authority, so there's no real clear direction or person who takes control and kind of organizes the whole map. You kind of have these individual units that are just kind of scrambling to do things. I think as soon as they enter or introduce the commander role, it'll add even more cohesion and even more structure than before, simply because you'll tie the squad leads together, and then that's when you really can do some interesting things.
Yeah. Even if you can just overrule the squabbling that can occur.
Yeah.
Just someone who
the power
decider.
struggle.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. But there's a question that I've had coming along with the commander role is there any way to enforce squad leaders actually listening to the commander when he gives an order?
They should be able to demote them.
That's a
say it
tricky
right
question, because if they do allow that ability, it's the same thing as kicking a squad leader. You don't necessarily know if that's going to benefit the game as a whole, because if you remove a squad leader who knows what he's doing but is, disagreeing or not being competent or is just generally fighting with you, and that gets tossed to a total noob, that's almost not even better, because they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they're going to fix that.
What about a mutiny option?
That's possible too, but then you still have that like who's gonna take command if he leaves. You need to have a secondary guy that's competent, and maybe they'll just come with the game over time as players get experience more. Will be comfortable with squad leading, and so you won't have that issue. But right now in Publix, if you kick a squad leader, or if a squad leader leaves randomly, that squad is doomed. That squad is doomed.
Yeah.
See, that might be something that can be fixed with Fireteams as well, because they could automatically go to a Fireteam leader.
Ah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
That's a very good point.
Absolutely. Kind of have like a 2 IC setup. I like the idea of a structure, and obviously, just as we all, anything in squad ops and even in life, like the tools are only as effective as the people using them, And I think we kind of see that in the vanilla squad, where there's just like sometimes some squads are working great together, and people are willing to work, and the teamwork is happening, and it's all great. And then you could be in another different languages, and no one wants to work together at all, and they're not interested to. And so I would love. Yeah, I would love personally to have a commander role in that, just so it kind of clears that up, where someone who's like enjoys the big picture work, kind of thinking more on a broad tactical level, almost strategic, versus that micro tactics that's happening at that fire team squad level. I think that would be awesome to have.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it would benefit both. Sorry, Carm, but I was just going to say I think it would benefit both public and obviously our squad ops as well in a big way.
Definitely waiting on for that feature, because that's gonna be great to kind of tie all the squad leaders together. We'll move on to our next topic here, which is going to be suppression. So this is going to be an interesting topic. So mainly when I say suppression, it kind of relates to extending gunplay scenarios and extending firefights. About the current suppression system, there's mainly two sides. It's not really any gray area, but one side says, suppression needs to be improved. We need more effects. We need either you can't shoot straight when you're getting suppressed, or you can't see anything. And then one side goes, no, don't mess with my suppression. It's fine how it is.
Well, yeah, those people are babies, though. You need to add a little bit of shake in there.
A little bit of shake. So I think the general consensus here is, unless Creeping you have a different stance, is that suppression needs some kind of tweak.
I would definitely look forward to a tweak in suppression. I think right now it's too easy to kind of shake it off and say that, yeah, people are firing at me, but my gun is still just as steady and I can just put shots back at them accurately. And I don't think that's at all real to life. There's no real incentive to actually get your head down unless you know that the person who's shooting at you can be accurate with those shots.
Right. So Hutch, you have some experience with this. What do you think about that? Is that realistic to have some kind of sway or something affecting your sights as you're getting suppressed, or should a player be able to just think past it, focus, even if they're being suppressed, and be able to challenge that player?
Well, like the balance between like real life and then a video game is just how you guys were talking about previously. There's no incentive for death, because you can respawn in, or even in a squad ops, okay, then you sit and watch the game play out for either 20-30 minutes tops that you got to watch a screen, and then you're back in playing again. Versus real life, that's it. And so because of that, I won't say that like you can or can't fire your weapon environment, but the regard is adjusting the suppression mechanic so it correlates that, takes some of that, like, oh, no problem, I'm good, I can stand up when in real life you wouldn't be doing that at all. You know what I mean? So I would personally like to see more of a suppression effect take on, where maybe there's some slight weapon sway or major like screen blurring, if like the suppression is prolonged, it gets worse and worse, where it's harder to see, stuff like that, or something that replicates tunnel vision, things like that. I think would be, I think it needs to be amped up a little bit more, because
that brings up a very interesting point of it getting gradually worse and worse, like really bad. Because when you think about it, if you're just taking pot shots at someone and you're trading like single fire shots, I mean that's okay. I can kind of see people trading back and forth. But then if you start to increase that rate of fire and you start to put more rounds towards that person, then they're suppression is increased, but your accuracy is also decreased. So that might be a way to extend firefights while still allowing, a small period of time where suppression won't affect you in the beginning.
Totally. Exactly. So, yeah. So as it continues, it worsens. Like the effect gets more intense.
Right. That's very interesting.
As an intensity level, because that's realistic.
Like a stamina bar kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. Like there's other games. I know we're talking about squad ops, but there's other games out there that have kind of more to what I like, where it actually has some effect on it. Where, yeah, you can still shoot. Maybe it doesn't give you as much more weapon sway, or maybe stability goes down a little bit. But you're, especially in a CQB environment, you could still, do your job in that kind of fight or flight mode. But if it's like prolonged, continuous for a long time, yeah, I would love to see like the screen get maybe tighter and tighter and tighter a little bit, and maybe it'd be a little challenging to aim or whatever. But I would like to have some kind of effect happening, so when you are suppressing a target, it has some relevance, because I feel like right now to relevance, and we have to kind of up our suppression effect with really maximizing accuracy to a point that maybe isn't quite as real. It's just like, dude, put rounds down range, period, right now,
Right.
I think that there ends up being there will be a pretty big cascading effect into other areas of gameplay when that stuff happens, like when you get a better suppression system. If you look back into very, very early squad, like pre-alpha, even like closed pre-alpha stuff, there was a point in early gameplay where there was no difference in accuracy whether you were looking down the sights or firing from the hip. So people weren't slowing down or waiting to look down sights to fire at people. And infantry gameplay was just run and gun. Like, that's all it was. And with the introduction of a looking down the sights, make you fire way more accurately. Whereas if you're firing from the hip, you're not, like, you can barely guess where the bullet's going to go. Like, that introduction slowed down firefights. I think if we got something like a suppression system that actually affected people and made people want to keep their heads down a little more, or affected the way they could aim or fight back, I think you'd end up seeing longer range firefights as well, because you can across map, or not, maybe not the whole map, but you can engage from further distances knowing that you are actually doing something tangible to an enemy, even if your bullets aren't hitting. If you're getting it close enough, you know that they're going to keep their heads down, maybe stay still.
That's a very good point.
And that, I think, will allow for a little bit better of team play, because right now, if I'm sitting with a fire team trying to suppress a hilltop that I've got an enemy squad on, the enemy squad can still move around pretty freely as long as they're like 200 meters away. Whereas if I can suppress that hilltop, keep that squad's heads down, I can send another fire team up there.
That's a very good point, is having some relevance in long-range engagements. Because right now, firing at someone from 300 meters out, very few people are just going to go, oh my god, we're getting shot at. Unless it's, a BTR or, really accurate fire. You don't really feel that effect of like, oh, I'm getting shot at. It's just like, you just hear the ping, ping, ping. Your screen's alright, you can see, you can even shoot back if you wanted to. But I do think that if you actually get that suppression effect, long-range engagements will have more relevance. This is really interesting because in the very beginning, I was of the entire opposite mindset. I was like, no, suppression doesn't need to get changed. People just need to play safer and understand, and even maybe increase the death penalty, and that'll, up suppression in a sense, because squad ups suppression is more suppressive than, vanilla suppression, right? Because you only have one life. Granted, it's not as, not real life terms, but it's still more because of that death penalty. You only get one life. So, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I hope they add some kind of increase in suppression and a penalty when you die, whether that be a slightly longer spawn time or something like that. But yeah, we'll see what they do.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing also, too, that I was thinking about with the suppression aspect is it'll be relevant when we have other weapon systems, and eventually when they're talking about bringing more vehicles into the game. With HE, you know what I mean? Like when you have mortars raining down on your position, or, the devs showed pictures of like rocket artillery and all that stuff. Like when this happens, what effect is that going to have in the game, And if we had a good suppression mechanic already in play, then it would already make people not want to do the Medal of Honor dash across their, their area,
Two-Ton, anything you want to say about suppression or add before we move on?
No. I think we've covered it pretty extensively.
Gotcha. All right. One of the final topics that we'll get to here is gun mechanics. How do you feel about the mechanics of Squad? I know I think they've kind of semi-officially announced free aim. What do you think about now? How does it feel to you now, gunplay wise?
I like it personally, coming from like a I've been shooting since I was a kid and been in the firearms industry for many, many, many years. Probably since like 2000, really. But I like it quite a bit. It's probably one of the more realistic type of weapons handling, as far as just weapons handling and natural sway that you're going to have in different positions. I know they're going to bring out a bipod, so when that comes out, I really want a bipod for any weapon that has one. Like, you should be able to drop a bipod down.
Mm-hmm.
But aside from that, like, I like it quite a bit. I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts?
I mean, I like it. It's not as tight as other games out there. But as far as long range rifle engagements, it's pretty decent.
I'd say similar. That I do really enjoy the weapons handling in Squad Ops. I'm not coming into this as a big like FPS player, or I do have experience with real life weapons. Not a whole lot though. So my only real experience with like first person shooters other than this has been I played PR for a few years before Squad came out, and I can say one of the reasons I basically can't play PR anymore is PR had it had like bullet deviation, so the bullet didn't always go where the barrel was pointing. It would kind of fire off at some awkward angles just because they couldn't have people with no weapon sway in the game. There was no way to just like gunplay at long distances was just a complete like meta disaster. So I absolutely love that the bullet actually goes where I'm aiming now.
Right.
It feels great to everything else that I've played.
They said they're adding free aim.
I think maybe it's just rumored, but that's something I thought they were adding. Maybe that's not confirmed. That could be completely rumor. But would you want free aim in this game?
Not only do I want free aim, I want track IR in this game.
Oh yes, I want track IR.
That'd be awesome. I would love track IR.
I think this game is on its way to be pretty freaking solid. One thing I want to bring up in addition to free aim was with the rifle sights. So technically it's true first person, but in my opinion the sights are really far from your face, simply because they don't account for the 1 or 2 feet in between yourself and the monitor. Have you guys noticed that? Do you have any thoughts on that? What do you think about the sights right now? Are they too far?
Well, I mean, like, I don't know if I'm the only one here, but I know I have my field of view at 90, which is the lowest setting possible, just to get that, to compensate for that distance, because I feel like it is a lot further away, you know? I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Does anyone run on field of view other than 90?
Yeah, I run it
at 90.
No, I run it wider.
210, what are yours at?
I think 110. Does it go to 110? I usually run at 110 if I can.
Okay. Why do you choose that over a tighter one?
Just because I like it. It feels more natural to me. You can see more.
What's your resolution, or your how big is your monitor?
It's I don't know, like 23 inches.
I see.
Damn. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, I run the 90 field of view as well.
I think we used to be able to set to 80, right? We used to have it at 80 was the lowest, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, but now it's set at 90 default.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what I would change, honestly, because I do like the dynamic where it makes aiming a little bit more challenging, which is realistic when you run around with a bunch of kit on your body. You know what I mean? Like, aiming can be a little challenging when you're firing unsupported, for sure, especially at distance. So I don't know if I'd change it. That's also what kind of makes Squad unique and makes you focus and work together and actually have to like focus on your front sight to achieve the hit versus just throwing up there instead of the front sight being your whole screen. It's just a feature in front of you with everything else that you're looking at, which I kind of like that. I don't know if I would change it a ton, but maybe a little bit more of your sight, you know?
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, being that Squad is one of these games where, like, when I first started playing, target acquisition was difficult as hell. Like, trying to find people when you started playing Squad, it was like, I have no idea where I'm getting shot from. Like, it's impossible to see people. And I think that has to do kind of with the sights, and then just the camo is done really well. And just overall, target acquisition in this game is some of the hardest I've ever had to deal with in any other game. Yeah, what do you guys think about that? You like it like that? You want it a little bit easier? Or, what do you think? Because personally, I think it's perfect. It makes it feel like a lot less of an arcade shooter. You actually have to look and you have to take your time every now and then. But I don't know. There's something about this game's pacing. We discussed this in the previous episode, so I don't want to go too much into it. But what do you guys think of target acquisition in this game with the sights?
I love it. I personally, I love the feeling of like taking shots from an unknown direction, and like even when you get hit, there's no indicators like you have in most other games of like what direction you got hit from, which I know is a little unrealistic because I mean if you get hit by a bullet, like you know what direction you got hit from,
Right.
But at the same time, like the whole like there's bullets whizzing by and you don't really know where it's coming from, so you have to just like get down and start looking around. And I know like I've played like stuff like Halo and all that stuff where like it's other players stick out like sore thumbs against scenery and background. And I kind of love the fact of you have to watch for like, can I see any tracers coming at me? What sort of other features I should be looking for, where an enemy would want to be tactically, and that's how I can figure out where shots may be coming from.
Right. Two-Ton, anything you want to add? Oh, Two-Ton maybe.
Other than I'm sorry, I'm extremely tired. It's like midnight here.
Anything you would like to add to target acquisition?
No, it's fucking rough. You know me, I can't aim for shit.
There's a reason he commands.
Yeah. There's a reason I got good with the lat.
All right. I guess we'll tie it up here with any tips. If you had to give a new player a tip that you don't think anyone else has ever given them, what would you say to a new player? Creeping.
Oh,
this is profound.
Yeah, something that nobody else has ever given them.
Or maybe not.
I mean, my number one tip is communicate. Make sure that you are always letting the rest of your squad know where you're encountering enemies, what your plans are, what your squad leader wants to do. Really, just back up your squad leader. The following a bad order from a squad leader is better than ignoring all orders from all squad leaders.
Right. I think that's a very good point as well, because that brings up, when you're communicating, a good player will respond when he's spoken to. An even better player will know what relevant information to give without being asked. So kind of being able to discern, should I tell my squad leader this even though he didn't ask me? Like, knowing that information, but also knowing, like, not telling useless information, because that's something that'll happen pretty often with some new players, is they'll tell you something and they're maybe halfway across the map or it's some useless information. So your point of communicate is really important. When you're asked, definitely respond, but if you have the chance and you kind of know that that information is important and relevant, you should take that initiative to share it with your squad.
Absolutely. One of my biggest, you actually brought up one of my biggest pet peeves in squad, and I'm constantly reminding, both in public matches and in like when I'm teaching SOTT or even in ops, if you are separate from, like if your squad is separated into fire teams, don't communicate via the compass rose over squad chat, because you just got the fire team in the distance to look in the complete wrong direction.
Right.
So if you're seeing contacts at 255, you need to say that in local, because only the people who are right next to you, those are the only people that 255 applies.
Right. Very, very good point. Very good point. Hutch, anything a tip that you would give a player that maybe another player has not known?
Yeah, I would say networking for sure. If you're a new player, I would highly recommend find some other like-minded people that will be willing just to walk you through it as well, or that are patient with you. Honestly, if you're listening to this podcast and you're a new player, I would generally say come to one of our pub servers, find anybody with an ops tag, and just ask them questions. Ask questions. That's totally fine. Show up to our Wednesday events. You can learn the ropes of the game. Jump on some pub matches first, obviously, and then just come on out and learn and ask questions and network, because you meet a lot of really cool, like-minded people, and as long as you're willing to work together as a team, and we're more than happy to teach you anything that we know, all these tips that we're sharing with you. So I would say networking. You know.
That's actually a very unique tip. I haven't heard that one before. But yeah, good point. Good point. Ask questions and get in touch with a community or a group that, you know, is willing to help you. 2-Ton?
Yeah, we're gonna get real specific with this one.
Sure.
Mostly because it happens a lot to me. When you are driving a technical or a Humvee and you come into contact with something like, I don't know, a BTR coming down the road at you, don't just stop in the middle of the road. Please, like, either drive off the side of the road and get the fuck out, get the heck out of there. We not swear, get out of there, or just even better, drive past it and just keep going. But please, for the love of God, just don't stop stopping in
I
front
love
of the
seeing
BTR.
that. I love seeing that when I'm a BTR gunner. You get that deer in the headlights kind of thing going
Yeah,
on.
I don't, because I'm the techie gunner, and it just
Yeah,
it hurts.
You should, like, when you're in a fast vehicle, speed is your you know, forte. You don't want to just stop and try to challenge the BTR, or try to, like, stop and reverse or something, because the second you slow down, you're dead. Get past him. That's all you can really do. If you're in a Logi, that's your number one thing you're gonna do, is just get past him.
It's like a squirrel trying to man fight like a car. You're not gonna win that fight. Just get out of the road.
Fantastic.
Don't be that speed bump.
Mm-hmm. All right, that ties up pretty much all of our main topics, unless anyone has anything they want to add.
No,
Anyone?
thanks for listening and being part of the community. Like, I'm stoked about being with all you guys and working with you, and look forward to meeting new people. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's
been quite a big ride, and we've been growing pretty strong here. So yeah, awesome. If you have any questions for the next podcast, or you have anything that you want us to talk about or discuss, be sure to leave that in the comments below. If you want to join our community and learn more about Squad Ops, visit our website at squadops.gg, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much for listening, and we hope we see you out there.